There is. Call this a special village board meeting here at 6:06. All trustees are present except trustee Bachhorst, who's excused. Who's doing the minutes here?
I am.
Assume this meeting's been properly noticed.
It has.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is review and discussion of the long-range financial plan project funding levels and project prioritization. I'll turn this over to Mark.
Yes.
Yes, Mark, can you present that?
All right. I did do a cover memo kind of outlining the premise to today's meeting. The general gist is that,
Do we have this cover memo?
yeah, so it's in the packet.
I don't see it in my,
Should be the first 2 pages. I can share you mine printed for you.
what I've got on
Are you trying to look at Dropbox?
Dropbox.
What did Tanya put it in Dropbox?
I don't know what time it
No.
is.
It's not in Dropbox.
I have a hard copy just because I picked up my copies.
You can certainly have mine. I've got multiple printed copies.
Okay.
Do you want to make copies real quick?
Guys, if you want to look at it electronically, I can forward you the PDF.
I've got it here.
Oh,
So the general context is, I've been here 4 years, and I've sensed a little feedback that when the long-range plan comes to the board, you've already got numbers, they're pre-populated, the plan is not designed to be dynamic, and it just kind of shows you what happens with the numbers that are being presented to you. So the hope here is to give the board an opportunity to weigh in on where those numbers fall as far as the board's prioritization via the funding levels. We'll adjust those numbers accordingly and then develop a long-range plan based on that, so you can see the full report within those contexts. So you'll have the appropriate supporting material for those funding levels, appropriate planning will have gone into thinking about how those decisions will impact different project implementations. The other aspect is that a lot of the focus is based on the village's debt service capacity, tax levy impacts of the long-range financial plan. So the presentation tonight will focus on those items. I do have the ability to generate some dynamic results for the board if you want to see, well, what would happen if we did this and what would happen if we did that. So the first 2 pages are your project schedules. This year they're separated into geodebt and into revenue bonds. So they're 2 different pages. Obviously the tax levy impact is driven by the very first section bracketed with the yellow highlights. Those are your general tax levy funded programs. There is some geodebt within the water utility for the next several years, so that'll impact the village's general obligation debt capacity.
Just a general question here. Where are we going from this one? Is there going to be a long-range planning meeting then down the road, and this is feeding into that?
Well, staff will use this feedback to prepare the long-range plan.
Yes.
Whether or not you feel we've sufficiently discussed the prioritization and those other issues that have merit a separate meeting, or if it's just the board wants to receive the presentation, it's up to the board.
Now, in the past, we've always had a meeting with the financial advisor too, on the long-range plan.
Right.
Is that
Elders
the
is,
plan or what?
Elders is typically function to lace in all of our projected bond and debt issuances to drive the numbers that look at projected debt service capacity equalized, percent of capacity or integrating them into my worksheets at this point. Certainly at the board's will, if they would like others to come in and confirm that I properly scheduled a 20-year notes, we can. Again, for this particular meeting, really just looking to drive the general prioritization and funding levels that will be developed into the plan. And do you want to start with that discussion then, I guess?
I'm just wondering where we're going from after this. Well, first of all, I was wondering if there's going to be another meeting on the long-range plan and this is feeding into it. I don't know what other people's thoughts
I
were.
think that's what the intent was. It said preliminary, like, meaning before we
Yeah,
go to
but-
regular meeting.
I thought there was going to be like an August meeting or something.
We certainly can. But again, if the body feels that we've sufficiently discussed the potential impacts of the scheduling and prioritization of the projects at this meeting, the long-range plan then just becomes a formal report. I am perfectly willing and available to discuss that again in the context of that final report. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more efficient meeting at the very least. Again, it's whatever the board prefers to do. If they would still like to see all the final materials put together, then
Because there's the operational,
Yeah, there's
this
a
is just the
whole-
capital, there's the operational growth and how the levy, how this all, with feeding this into that, how the whole levy and the
And then we always talked about our parameters and all of the different metrics that we would look at for our. We don't, I don't want to miss that stuff.
then we will have a full meeting instead of a presentation. That's
Definitely
fine.
that is.
Yes.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Can I also ask a more general question? I
don't think it could have been more general than that one. I'm joking.
Yeah, maybe it's a
Go
little
ahead.
more specific than that. I believe last fall, I asked the then village manager at what point would it be appropriate to start to talk about our road program and our road prioritization, and he said it should be part of this process, and I believe Tyler also made the suggestion that when we're considering the long-range plan, is the right time to talk about what our road program is going to be for the next couple of years. Is that happening today?
I would think that is what we're looking for. What funding level is the board generally looking for the staff to plan on for supporting its roads program, for
No,
doing its valley program?
I mean, Larkin, Newhall, Woodburn, Stowell, I mean, what projects we're talking about doing? Or, I mean, yes, in connection with this money, but I'm not talking about abstract 250,000, these out, I mean, I want to know these alleys and these roads.
Those are my understanding of how the process would work is once we've got general funding level indications that we can develop implementation programs that will give general context to the progress that we made over an extended period of time, but the actual year-to-year project implementation comes with the budget document.
My understanding was we were going to try to do some planning relative to alleys and roads altogether. That was what the discussion was, that's what I was told by Chris,
Sorry.
that we were gonna have an opportunity to talk about not just dollar amounts, but, for example, we talked about bidding out for 2018, that area around Larkin and Olive, and we've had this, prior, I haven't been on public works for a few months, but we had discussions about, well, 1.5 million gets you this and 2 million gets you this. So, you know, I've been asking, and I think it would be beneficial to do some planning around our road program in the concrete, so to speak. Not just as here's a dollar amount and we'll come and tell you what we can do for that. You know, I mean, that doesn't tell us we're going to finish that central part of town and now we can move on to Summit and those areas down there. You know, I think it's beneficial for us to have a sense of, you know, what areas we're talking. It's kind of a chicken and egg thing, but I
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to specifically address that, other than we try to present collectively to the board our vision into the future and multi-year programs, but as road conditions change, as the circumstances change, those are constantly updated, so I'm not sure.
We need to have a plan, we have a plan. We have a pavement management plan. We have a plan. We have a multi-year road reconstruction plan. All I'm saying is,
Okay.
why can we not talk about the road reconstruction plan in the context of our long range? Does it not make sense? Am I crazy, or does it not make sense to discuss our road reconstruction plans in the context of our long range financial planning? And that's what I've been asking for many months. Okay, I've said my thing to say.
Well, again, from my perspective, the plan is out there,
What plan?
the long-range plan for road reconstruction. It's out there, it exists. Now, depending on funding commitments, staff has to modify that plan. So if the discussion is that the plan being presented based on a general funding level, the board has a desire to direct staff to implement in a different manner, I mean, I think
That was the concept, that we would have a chance, just like we're here, setting priorities. And we would have the road plan and be able to set priorities in connection with it. But we would be doing them together.
Let me kind of cut to the chase. When you look at the list that's up on the board, virtually every project is articulated, except road program and alley. Those are still open amounts being allocated. Leanne, can you give the board a quick rundown on what projects you are projecting to include with the $2 million for roads and $750,000 for alley? I think everything else is a line item project,
Yeah.
so you can see exactly what it's for.
Right.
Those are the only two that are kind of open numbers now that we would fill in the specifics.
Well, I believe the $2 million funding level would be the intent to construct all of the roads in that Larkin area, which are currently being designed. If you recall, we had that discussion because the last year's long-range financial plan, I believe, had $1.5 million number in the road program. The two was an increase with the purpose of your discussion to decide if 2 is an appropriate number, then we can construct, based on current estimates, we should be able to construct all of the roads that are currently in engineering. $750,000 on an alley, for alley reconstruction. As you know, we don't have a current plan in terms of identified specific alleys by construction year. And the reason that we don't is that the board has not, as of yet, come to a consensus on a future and consistent funding level for alleys. At that point, the next day, we'll be drafting an alley plan with dates and schedule attached. But really are looking for some direction from you in terms of, is $750,000 a good funding level for alleys? It can give you some lineal feet, kind of what that means in terms of how many alleys would that get you each program year. But no, we have a listing of by pavement rating, which would be the next up alleys.
I'm comfortable with that approach.
Right.
Yes.
The reason, if I can try to explain it a little differently, last year, when we wanted to increase the money for the alleys, it was mid-year, and one of the things we asked to do, we weren't able to do, we didn't have that in front of us, and we were told, let's do that during long-range planning next year, was the trade-off. Like, we wanted the alleys and the roads to be presented like a level of service and to really look at it as a whole. So in other words, maybe the whole amount we want to be $1 million, or $2 million, whatever the whole amount is for roads and alleys. But we didn't Exactly, we wanted, instead of adding more for alleys, the 750 every year, it was, what I was requesting at the time was, can we look at it with our road program as a whole? Because there might have been a road that was less severe, we could keep it in the future going forward within that same amount that we allocated, say, last year. So say we allocated last year $1 million for roads and $200,000 for alleys. Instead of having to go up to 17, $1.7 million, if we planned for it ahead of time, we could have done the $1.2 million and reduced one of the roads. We could have traded, if the alleys were more severe than one of the roads, we could have kept it at the 1.2 million that we had budgeted. And so the response when we were making those suggestions last year was that's the 11th hour, we've already done the water costs associated with the sewers, and so we weren't able to make that choice or that trade-off. We didn't have that option or alternative to even consider. So as frustrating as that was, I understood that the solution was going to be that this year we would tackle that question in either long-range planning or maybe it was the full budget. I